In this lesson, we are going to be working on compound interest. We are going to state the compound interest formula and then be able to apply or use the compound interest formula. Well, interest is the money that you might receive from a bank for having money in a savings account. That's one example. You could also take interest going the other direction, where it might be money you actually have to pay when you owe someone money. For example, if you are buying a house or a car and you have to take out a loan from the bank, they will give you the money if your credit is good, but then you must pay the money back with interest, which means they are asking you for extra money because they loaned you some money. So when you are doing compound interest, that's when you are collecting or earning money on a regular schedule during the year. For example, annually means that once a year you would be collecting interest, or monthly, where they would be paying you interest 12 times, weekly 52 times, or daily 352 times. And when it is compounding, it means this, that the original money you put into the bank, you earn interest or money, and then they will pay you again, so you're earning money not only on what you initially put into the bank, but on also what they gave you. So you're actually earning interest on top of interest, plus your initial investment. So let's take a look at how we would calculate some of these problems. So first of all, we are going to work on the compound interest formula. How do they calculate what you owe or what you earn? Now, we aren't going to ask you to memorize the compound interest formula, but you will need to know what each of the letters stands for and how to calculate it. So this is something that definitely needs to be in your notes. The compound interest formula reads A equals P times the quantity 1 plus R divided by N to the NT power. A stands for the total amount that you will have. P stands for the starting amount that you either borrowed or put into the bank. R is the interest rate, and we will be writing it as a decimal. N is the number of times that your investment or loan is compounded in 1 year. And then T stands for the number of years. There is another formula that we will look at, and it's called compound interest formula, where it's compounding continuously, which means all the time. It's called A equals PERT. We often call it the PERT formula. We are not again going to ask you to memorize it, but you will need to know what the letters stand for and how to calculate it. A stands for the total amount. P is the starting amount. R is the interest rate, and we will ask you to write it as a decimal, even though you will be given it as a percent. T stands for the number of years, and then the last thing to know is E. E is simply a number. It is a number like pi. It stands for a number that is 2.71, etc. And it has been developed for one of these particular reasons in using compound interest. We can approximate it as 2.71, but it is a button that is found on your calculator. So you should be able to find the E and use it as we are calculating the interest. Let's practice a problem. So if in your notes you will write down this problem and pause if you need to, because this is the only example in the notes. You deposit $500 in an account that pays 3% interest. Find the balance after 2 years if the interest is compounded with the given frequency. Please make sure to write your final answers in complete sentences. So remember, A stands for the amount. That's your answer. That's what your final amount is that you would have either in the bank or what you would owe. Deposit $500. That means you're putting that into the bank, and that's going to be P, or your starting amount that you're putting into the bank. The account pays you 3% interest. 3% is your rate, but remember, we want to write that as a decimal. So we will move the decimal over 2 places to the left, and that's going to equal 0.03. Find the balance after 2 years. 2 years then is going to be our time, or T, if the interest is compounded with the given frequency. So each of these columns is a different problem that we're going to work out. So let's start with compounding annually. Annually means once a year. All we need to do is substitute the information into the formula, and then we're going to calculate it. So A equals P, which is our starting amount, is $500, times 1, remember 1 includes our investment, plus our rate is 0.03, divided by N, and again, N stands for the number of times that we're compounding it based on a year. Well, we're only going to compound it once since it's annually. And then the exponent is going to be 1 times the amount of years that we're putting in, which is 2. So calculating this, we have 500, and then we have 0.03 divided by 1 is 0.03, and when we add that to 1, we're going to get 1.03, and then 1 times 2 would be 2. So using your scientific calculator, here's how you calculate this. 500 times 1.03, use your exponent key, press your 2 to the second power, and then press equals. And you should come up with $530.45. And then make sure to write your sentence, and your sentence would be including what you invested and what you're going to make. For example, you might say, I deposited $500, and after 1 year, I would have $530.45. Let's take a look at the calculation for monthly, and remember there are 12 months in a year. So A is equal to P is my starting amount, so that's going to be $500, times 1 plus my rate is 3%, so that's going to be 0.03, divided by N, and in this case, N is 12 times for 12 months. My N is 12, and I'm multiplying that by my time, which is 2 years. So simplifying, I have 500 times 1 plus 0.03 divided by 12. Well, first I'd probably like to do this on my calculator. 0.03 divided by 12 is 0.0025, and then when I add that to 1, I have 1.0025. And then I'm going to take that to the power of 12 times 2, which is 24. So using your scientific calculator, you're going to take 500 times 1.0025, use your exponent key to the 24th power, and press equals. So that's going to be $530.88. Please make sure then that you practice writing a sentence. So saying, after 2 years, when my interest is compounded monthly and I have $500 in my account, I would earn $530.88. Next, I want to do an example of where I'm going to compound my interest continuously. So let's plug in the information or substitute in what we know. A equals P, our starting amount. E, which you recall can be approximated to 2.71, or just use the E button on your calculator. And then we have our rate. Our rate is 0.03 times the time, which is 2 years. So simplifying, we have 500 times E, and when we multiply these two together, we're going to get 0.06. So on the calculator, you're going to press 500 times E, use your exponent key to the 0.06 power, and then press equals. And this should come out to be $530.92. And don't forget to write your sentence. So in review, when you are calculating interest, remember you're calculating the amount that you would owe or earn on your initial money. You can compound it daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and that's the formula that we would use, or we can compound it continuously. And please don't forget that you need to make your rate a decimal. Please complete the reflection.